no reason for killing him, absolutely no reason. I knew you'd react this way, that's...
That's why what?
Oh, dear. I thought I was being so clever.
What really happened here tonight?
Well, it all started as I explained. I said goodbye to Oliver, and he went off with Miss Peake. Then my husband came home, explaining that he'd have to go out again almost immediately. And it was just as I was shutting the front door that I suddenly began to feel nervous.
Nervous? Why?
Well, it occurred to me that I'd never been alone in the house at night.
Well?
Well, I told myself not to be so silly, but I still kept thinking I heard a door shutting somewhere, footsteps in my bedroom. So I thought I'd better do something.
Yes?
Well, I went into the kitchen to make the sandwiches for Henry and Mr. Jones. And then I really heard something.
Where?
In this room. I knew then that this time I wasn't imagining it. I heard drawers being pulled open and shut. And then I suddenly remembered. The window in here wasn't locked. Someone had come in that way.
Well, go on, Mrs. Holson-Brown.
Well, I was petrified. I didn't know what to do. So then I thought of a plan.
Yes?
I went to the hall stand and I took out the heaviest stick I could find. I went into the library. I didn't turn on the light. I felt my way across the room to that recess. I opened it very gently and I slipped inside. Unless you knew about it, you'd never dream there was a door just there.
No, you certainly wouldn't.
Well, I eased the catch open, but then my fingers slipped. The door swung right open and hit against the chair. A man who was standing by the desk straightened up. I saw something bright and shining in his hand. I thought it was a revolver. I was petrified. I thought he was going to shoot me, so I hit out at him with a stick with all my might, and he fell. Oh, could I have a little brandy, please?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Do you feel able to continue, Mrs. Holson-Brown?
Yes, thank you. You're very kind. The man just lay there. He didn't move. I turned the light on and I saw then that it was Oliver Costello. And he was dead. Oh, it was horrible. I was so frightened. I rang up the golf club. I wanted my guardian. I begged him to come over, and they all did. And then I asked them to help me to take the body away somewhere.
But why?
Because I was a coward, a miserable coward. I was frightened of the publicity of having to go to a police court, and I thought it would be so bad for my husband and for his career, and I just felt I couldn't go through with it.
Perhaps because the dead man had a short while before attempted to blackmail you?
Blackmail me? Oh, that's nonsense. There's nothing anybody could blackmail me about.
Elgin, the butler, overheard a mention of blackmail.
I don't believe he heard anything of the kind. If you ask me, he's just making the whole thing up.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Holson-Brown. Are you deliberately telling me that the word blackmail was never used?
I swear it wasn't. Oh, of course, how silly. That was it.
You remembered?
Oh, well, it was nothing, really. It was just that Oliver was saying something about the rent of furnished houses being absurdly high. And I said we'd been amazingly lucky and we were only paying 4 guineas a week for this. And he said, Clarissa, I can hardly believe it. What's your pull? It must be blackmail. And I laughed and said, that's it, blackmail.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Holson-Brown, but I really can't believe that.
Can't believe what?
That you're only paying 4 guineas a week furnished here.
You really are the most unbelieving man I've ever met. Most things I can't prove, but this one I can. And this time I'm going to show you. Here it is. Oh, no, it isn't. Ah, here we are. You see? The agreement for a furnished tenancy, 4 guineas a week.
Well, I'm blessed. It's extraordinary. Well, I apologize, Mrs. Holson-Brown, but it really is extremely odd.
Why?
Well, it so happens that a lady and gentleman came down here with orders to view this house, and the lady happened to lose a very valuable brooch. She called in at the police station to give particulars, and she happened to mention this house. She said they were asking an absurd price for it. She thought 18 guineas a week for a house right in the country and miles away from anywhere was ridiculous. I agreed with that.
That is extraordinary. Oh, I understand why you were skeptical, but perhaps now you'll believe some of the other things I told you.
I'm not doubting your final story, Mrs. Holson-Brown. We usually know the truth when we hear it. But what I can't understand is who telephoned the police.
Oh, yes, I'd forgotten that.
It clearly wasn't you, and it wouldn't be any of the 3 gentlemen.
Elgin. Miss Peake.
No, not Miss Peake. She didn't know the body was there.
Yes, I wonder.
Why, when the body was discovered, she had hysterics.
Oh, anyone can have hysterics.
Anyway, she doesn't live here. She has her own cottage.
She could have been in the house. She has keys to all the doors.
It seems to me more like Elgin who telephoned.
You won't send me to prison, will you?
It's a good job you changed your story in time and told the truth, madam.
I couldn't keep away any longer. Is it all right, Inspector? Do you understand?
Rowley, I've told the inspector everything. How I thought it was a burglar, and I hit him on the head. And then I got in a dreadful flap, so I rang you up and I asked you to help me. And I begged and begged you, and at last you gave in. I see now how wrong of me it was, but at the time I was just scared stiff, and I thought it would be cozier for me and Henry and even Miranda if Oliver's body was found in Marsden Wood.
Clarissa, what have you been saying?
Mrs. Hailsham Brown has made a very full statement, sir.
So it seems.
It'll lead to far less trouble in the end. Now, Mrs. Hailsham Brown, I shan't ask you to go into the recess while the body's there, but I'd like you to show me exactly where the man was standing when you came through that way.
Oh, yes. Well, he was, no, he was standing like this.
I see. Right. Jones? And then the door opened, and you came through that way, and the... Where's the body?
Sucks to you. Really, Inspector Lord, bringing me all this way on a wild goose chase.
But I can assure you, Doctor, we did have a body.
The Inspector's right, Doctor. We did have a body. Well, I'm not wasting any more time. You'll hear more about this, Inspector Lord.
Now then, Elgin.
I know nothing about it, sir. I assure you, nothing at all.
Who can have spirited it away? Do you think Jeremy managed it somehow?
Well, I guess how he could have done. They didn't allow anyone to go back into the library, and the door from the library to the hall was shut. I say, whoever sucks to you was the last straw, wasn't it? Still, it does tell us one thing. Costello had opened their secret drawer. Clarissa, why didn't you tell the inspector the truth?
Oh, I did, except for the part about Pippa. He didn't believe me.
Why did you have to tell him all that nonsense?
Well, it seemed to me the most likely thing the inspector would believe. And he has believed me.
It's a nice mess you're in now, aren't you? Manslaughter for all we know.
Self-defense.
Pushing us around here and there. Now it seems they've gone and lost the body.
Damn funny, I call it.
It's fantastic. The whole thing's fantastic. Who rang up the police and said there'd been a murder here?
Elgin? That Peak woman.
But why? It doesn't make sense.
Coast clear. No bodies about. They seem to be all swarming all over the place.
They searched the house and the grounds.
What for?
The body is gone.
I see. Disappearing body, eh?
Are you feeling better, Miss Peake?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm all right. Pretty tough, really, you know. Just turned me over for a moment finding that body, I must admit.
I wondered if perhaps you knew it was there.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
But it doesn't make sense. Why take the body away? We all know there's a body there. We know its identity and everything. There's no point in it.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Mr. Birch. You've got to have a body, you know. Habeas corpus and all that, remember. I mean, you've got to have a body before you can make a charge of murder against anyone. So don't you worry, Mrs. Hailsham Brown. Everything's going to be all right.
Me? Do you mean...
I've kept my eyes open this evening. Haven't spent all my time on the spare room bed, you know. Never did like that Elgin or his wife. Listening at doors, running to the police with stories about blackmail.
So you heard?
What I say is stand by your own sex. So, only one thing to do. Get rid of the body and let the police chase their tails looking for it. Pretty smart work, if I say so myself.
Do you mean to say it was you?
Well, we are all friends here, aren't we? Yes, I moved the body. Locking the door again, of course. I've got the keys to all the doors in this house.
But how? Where did you put it?
Well, the spare room bed, of course. You know, the four-poster. Right across the head of the bed, under the bolster. Then I remade the bed and lay down on top of it.
How did you get the body up to the spare room? You couldn't manage it all by yourself.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Good old fireman's lift. Slung it over my shoulder.
But supposing you had met someone on the stairs?
Ah, but I didn't. The police were in here with Mrs. Hailsham Brown, and you three were in the dining room, so I grabbed my chance. And, of course, the body, took it through the hall, locked the library door again, and popped it upstairs to the spare room.
Well, upon my soul.
But he can't stay there forever.
No, not forever, of course, Mrs. Hailsham Brown. 24 hours, though. By that time, the police are finished with the house and grounds. They'll be looking further afield. Now, I've been thinking. This morning, I dug a nice, deep trench. Right. We'll bury the body there and plant a double row of celery right along it.
Well, unfortunately, Miss B, grave digging is no longer a matter of a private enterprise.
You men, such sticklers. We've got more sense. We can even take murder in our stride, eh, Mrs. Hailsham Brown?
Of course she didn't kill him. Don't believe a word of it.
Well, if she didn't, who did?
Pippa, what are you doing out of bed?
I came down. I'm so frightfully hungry. And you said you'd bring this up.
I thought you were asleep.
I was asleep. And then I thought a policeman came in and looked at me. I'd been having an awful dream. And then I half woke up. And then I was hungry, so I thought I'd come down.
Excuse me. I'll just take a peep and see how the boys in blue are getting on.
Right. I thought it might be true.
Thought what might be true, Pippa?
A horrible dream about Oliver.
What was your horrible dream about Oliver, Pippa? Tell me.
I made this tonight. I melted down a wax candle, and I made a pin red hot, and I stuck it through it.
Good Lord.
I said the right words and everything, but I couldn't do it quite as the book said.
What book? I don't understand.
Here it is. She got it in the market today. She called it a recipe book.
And you said, can you eat it?
100 tried and trusty spells. How to cure warts, how to get your heart's desire, how to destroy your enemy. Oh, Pippa, is that what you did?
Yes. It isn't very like Oliver, and I couldn't get any clippings of his hair. It's as like him as I could make it. And then I dreamed. I thought I came down here. He was there. It was all true. He was there. Dead. I had killed him. Is it true? Did I kill him?
No, darling,
But he
no.
was there.
Yes, Pippa, darling, he was there, but you didn't kill him. Now, listen to me. When you stuck the pin into that wax figure, it was your hatred and your fear of Oliver that you wanted to kill. Isn't that true?
Yes, it's true. But I saw him. I came down here and I saw him lying there dead. I did see him.
Yes, darling, you did see him, but you didn't kill him. Now, listen. Oliver was hit over the head with a big stick. Now, you didn't do that, did you?
No, not a stick. You mean a golf stick like Jeremy had?
No, Pippa, not a golf club. That big stick that's kept in the hall stand.
Or the one that belonged to Mr. Sellon. And Miss Peake calls a knob carry.
Hmm.
Oh, no, I wouldn't do anything like that. I couldn't. Oh, Uncle Ollie, I wouldn't have killed him, really.
No, of course you wouldn't. Now, come on, darling. Put your feet up and forget all about it. There we are. Oh, that's right. What a fool I've been. I should have known Pippa couldn't possibly. I didn't know anything about this book. Pippa told me she killed him, and I thought it was true.
So you mean you thought that Pippa...
Yes, darling.
That explains it. Good God.
Well, I'm going to go to the police.
Tell her about she's already told them 3 stories.
No, wait. I've got an idea. Hugo, what was the name of Mr. Sellon's shop?
It was an antique shop.
Yes, I know that, but what was it called?
What do you mean? What was it called?
Oh, you are being difficult. You've said it earlier, and I want you to say it again. What was written up outside the door?
What, written up? Well, what should be written up? Well, only Sellon and Brown.
At last, Sellon and Brown. My name is Hailsham Brown. We got this house dirt cheap. People who came to see it before us asked such an exorbitant rent that they went away in disgust. Now what have you got there?
No.
Not yet.
At last, dimly, yes.
Mr. Sellon's partner was a woman. Today somebody rang up and asked to speak to Mrs. Brown. Not Mrs. Hailsham Brown, just Mrs. Brown.